must I feel like that? Why must I chase the cat?
Nothing but the dog in me.
Why must I chase the cat?
Good evening and welcome to Pound Posse Presents. Tonight I am overjoyed, grateful, not believing my dumb luck that I have with me Melissa and Paul Fiaccone, along with Cherry Garcia, who is kind of laying there. Cherry, do you want to get up and say hi?
Come on, sit up.
Sit up and say hi so the letters don't block your beautiful face. Cherry Garcia is one of the Vicktory dogs, and for those of you who are not familiar with the term Vicktory dog, that's spelled V-I-C-K, and it means that Cherry was formerly one of the dogs who belonged to Michael Vick. So he is a very special guest tonight. Guys, thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you for having us.
I really appreciate it. Cherry is a miracle in a lot of ways. The dogs that were saved from that situation that was done in a time where these dogs really weren't given a second chance. And that in itself is just, he's a miracle. How in all this world did you end up adopting a dog such as Cherry?
So Cherry was one of the 53 pit bulls taken from Michael Vick in 2007. From there, they stayed in Virginia until the court case was over. And through the court case, they were actually deemed victims and not evidence and destroyed. Luckily, a few organizations stepped up to help these dogs. Cherry was one of the 22 that went out to Best Friends in Kanab, Utah. Best Friends took on the 22 most traumatized dogs, and out of those 22, Cherry was one, if not the most traumatized out of the group. He just was extremely shut down, suffered from post-traumatic stress syndrome. And from there, Best Friends was doing a show on National Geographic called Dogtown. Me being a pit bull owner at the time and a football fan, it really kind of enticed me to see what they were doing with these dogs, because to your point, they've never rehabilitated or let these dogs actually go back out into the public before. So I tuned in, and there was a little black dog on there named Cherry. And you just kind of wanted to reach through the TV screen and kind of hold him. He just was so shut down, so shy. And the last scene of Cherry's sequence, he opened up to another dog named Mel, who was a Vicktory dog as well. And that kind of got my gears going. Of my dog at the time, Madison, was this very confident, ultra socialized dog who really enjoyed the company of others. And I thought, you know, if you could pair up a confident dog with a dog that needed a little help in that department, it definitely would benefit. At the time, Melissa and I weren't even married.
No, we were buying a house, and I picked him up one night. He got in the car and said, well, I put in an application for this dog, but we have no chance of ever getting him. So I said, okay, kind of brushed it aside, didn't think anything of it. About 6 months later, he was emailing Best Friends to ask how his rehabilitation was going, and they said, oh, we noticed you put an application in. Let's start this process. And, you know,
surprise!
Yeah, yes. So we had to get homeowners insurance that covered pit bulls. We needed a 6-foot high fence around our yard. We needed a doggy door, a home inspection, background checks. So every step of the way, we would look at each other and say, is this really happening? You know, and Best Friends would say, okay, you passed this stage, let's move on to this one. And eventually we flew out there to have our dog meet him. That was like the final. And when we were out there, we signed the papers, and about a week later, he flew to our house with one of their trainers.
How surreal was that?
It happened really quickly, because you go from
surprise.
Yeah.
You know, you go from email and talking, and you know, like Melissa said, every step of the way we kind of overcame these hurdles, and then we started talking to his trainer. You know, getting to know him a little bit more, but then you're talking about flying from the East Coast all the way out to Utah with your dog, in the hopes that they get along so you can adopt the dog. So it really was kind of a whirlwind trip. We were only there for about 3 or 4 days. Very tough, especially with a dog like Cherry at the time, who was extremely shy still, to kind of bond and to kind of really get to know him, to make sure that he was going to be a fit for our house, which, you know, it was difficult. He actually hid underneath an office desk for about an hour. We kind of sat down on the floor. Our dog Madison at the time was extremely tired from the trip, and she kind of plopped down on a dog bed, and we kind of just joined her and kind of just sat there.
And we have a picture of that.
Yeah, I sent
Zach,
in
let's get up that picture.
and that's our first family photo, I guess. But we really, you know, Cherry, it took him a long time to warm up to people, so we kind of just sat there and let him kind of get used to us being in the room, and eventually kind of snuck out from underneath the desk, and he thought it was kind of cool to lay down with us, and we sat there for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, just really, again, letting him get used to us. And I think really that was the beginning and the foundation we set with him, that, you know, he was going to be our dog.
We'll take the camera back, Zach.
And as Melissa said, about a week later, they flew out to us, and I think that's when reality sets in. You know, it's kind of all of a sudden, you know, all his trainers are back at Utah, and he's in a foreign place again. He's starting over again. It's not an easy thing for a dog like Cherry to do that.
Not at all. Were you, when you left to go home with him, or when you got him, I mean, were you like, oh my God, I hope we can do this? Or was it like, no, we got this?
It was kind of.
Or did you have moments?
Yeah, we got him in September, and from September to March, it was kind of, how do we get him to become a normal dog? That's all we wanted for him. We didn't want anything grand. We just wanted him to bark at the mailman and, you know, lick people that come in the front door and just be a typical dog. But when we got him, he pretty much sat in the corner of our couch with his head down and just kept looking around the room like that. We could hardly get him off the couch to eat, let alone go for a walk outside, or you know, go to the bathroom outside. It was a struggle.
The couch was his safe place.
The couch was a safe place, and for a dog like Cherry, if you think about it, the corner of the couch, it's encompassing his back and his side, so really he just has to worry about people in front of him. And really, you know, like Melissa said, the first week or so, it was just tough to get him to eat, to get him to go outside, to get him to drink water. What we found is a lot of times at night when the house was dark, we were sleeping, he would kind of get up and sneak out, and I think he just kind of gradually kind of made his geography a little bit wider every time. But really,
sleeping, it's safe.
Exactly,
it's
it
dark,
was quiet.
everything's
That's when he
quiet.
drank water, was actually at night, so we
it's
always
true.
had a bowl of water at night with him. And really, a lot of it, we have to give credit to Madison. She was just an amazing dog. She took right to him like a mother to a son.
And he had no problems with her at all.
No problems.
No problems.
He doesn't have many problems with animals. As a matter of fact, we have 2 cats now. He adopted our cat Walker, who sleeps on his head.
Licks him right in between the eyes.
They just, you know, have this special bond, and even Walker kind of really helped him with his confidence as well. It was just kind of something with him in animals and children. He loves children. I don't know if he senses the innocence in them and knows that he's safe.
With Madison, if there was something that we wanted Cherry to do and we knew he would be nervous about it, we would have Madison do it first. So things like getting in and out of the car, you know, going outside. We had Madison go first, and then Cherry would see Madison, and we would it would make it easier for us to push him along.
She led him by example.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And that had to have been just the most important thing for him to see, all the things that were really okay. You weren't asking to do anything bad or scary or that were going to hurt him.
It was huge. He really trusted her a lot more than he trusted us in the beginning, so it was huge for us to have her, because I don't think he would be the dog he is today without her.
And that's, you know, the power of just animals. You know, it's a great thing. You know, it's what was Cherry's biggest struggle? I mean, I can't imagine. I can't imagine like what you guys have done, and it's just so amazing.
I think it's just, I mean, his biggest struggle, I mean, he just was so under-socialized. People, I mean, just
also, yep.
strangers. I mean, he didn't even take treats from us in the beginning.
We had a court-ordered trainer. She came to our house twice to work with him, and he, again, didn't get off the couch either time. And she had, you know, high-value edibles. She had some, you know, American cheese and and treats that she would just put in front of him, and he wouldn't even eat them. He just stared at her. So she's the one who gave us the idea, you know, every time somebody comes in the house, have them give him a treat, even if it means just putting it on the couch and walking away and letting him do what he wants with it. And we kind of took that idea and ran, and when we would be out in public, we always bring a bucket of treats, and slowly he started to trust people to the point now where we don't even need them, and he'll go up to people.
He was fine when he came in the door.
Yeah, I mean, he would literally collapse in fear at a human being. So for him to walk into a place like this, he walked through, I mean, thresholds for them, for dogs like this, are big. And he walked through, what, 3 or 4 or 5 doors coming in here, and no problem. Really, it's what we've learned through the process is really breaking things up into very small pieces and getting over those little pieces and those big hurdles and then putting them together.
Right.
A great example is him eating. You know, he just would not eat out of a dog bowl where our dog bowls were. He would eat in the couch, but he wouldn't come over and eat. So we started just moving the bowl closer and closer. And we got off of the couch, we put it in a dog bed, and he literally would have his back legs on the couch and eating there. And then finally we got him off of the couch, and we just slowly moved him to where he started eating right next to Madison, but he would take a few bites and then he would go back. And then he would take a few bites and go back. To probably about 7 or 8 months later, he was actually eating like a normal dog. It took a long time for him to overcome that. But with that, built confidence in him, built a lot of trust in us. So really, it's those foundational things, breaking it up into pieces and really setting him up for success.
And that's, you know, you have to take it step by step. You were starting with not even a clean slate. You know, you were starting with a dog who didn't know the house, and he didn't know people were okay, and that nobody was going to hurt him anymore.
We kind of joke because we almost had to train and then retrain him, because anything positive we would reward, but sometimes those positives were, in the eyes of a normal dog, a negative thing, like jumping up on the couch or, you know, just simple things that you would teach a normal dog not to do, you would reward him for doing because he was actually doing something.
You had to bridge it.
You had to. So it was train him and then retrain him.
And then even the little things around the house. You know, I remember the first time we turned the TV on, he sat up and he couldn't figure out where the noise was coming from, or, you know, taking out the aluminum foil. You know, all of those noises, opening up a bag of chips, were brand new for him and would make him very nervous.
I can imagine, you know, a dog that's not used to home living, you know, the things that like you would think wouldn't even be an issue are foreign and strange, and he doesn't know if it's a threat.
It really makes you reflect on everyday life, and really another tool that we used was keeping him on a strict schedule. So waking up, walking, feeding, all of those things we kept down to a minute or two from each other. So he knew what to expect. So every day he knew what to expect, and it just built confidence. He would do his routine a little bit easier, and if it deviated a little bit, he could handle it because he kind of knew what was going on.
It's important. You know, they say structure is important for any animal, and in a case like this, it's you really do. You have to let them know somehow that it's okay, and if it's that structure and stability, then I mean, clearly it worked wonders.
It's been amazing. You know, we've about 9 or 10 dogs from best friends have been put into homes, and we all talk to each other. But I just remember in the beginning, it was Handsome Dan and Hallie who were in homes, and really we were on the phone with each other and emailing each other, because really these dogs we didn't know.
Your own brand of support group.
Exactly.
Nobody else has a dog like this.
Exactly.
You know,
I mean,
And it was funny, we would talk to each other and we'd find out that Handsome Dan would go crazy for scrambled eggs. So we would try to give him scrambled eggs. Didn't work all the time, but it was just those ideas, being able to, like you said, a support group and all that. And now we're up to 9 or 10 adopters. And it's been a lot of fun getting to know everybody. We actually went back to best friends, 2 years ago?
No, I think it was 2013.
So it'll be 3 years ago this April for a reunion, and we got to actually meet everybody face to face, which we haven't done yet.
The dogs all got together?
The dogs all got together.
So one lodge, we had like 10
How was that?
So we had, I think, 6 of the Vicktory dogs there, and then we had 5
Additional
other pit bulls
dogs,
there in one lodge. And before we were, you're bringing back ex-fighting dogs, and you're adding other dogs and people to the mix, and we had a leash rule. And that was broken within about a half hour.
Yeah, in the first couple hours.
The dogs, really, Cherry's brother Mel was there, the dog that I mentioned earlier. When Mel came in, Cherry actually ran and jumped on the couch and actually sat on top of Mel and just like held him down. It was just like...
We have a picture of, because Hallie, Belle, and him all look pretty much identical, and we have a picture of all 3 of them sitting on the couch together.
And they just have the best time. Handsome Dan, who lives in Rhode Island, we get to see pretty frequently, a few times a year. We actually met them way before we went out to Utah, and the first time we met up with them was only a couple months after we had Cherry. So he was still really shut down, and Dan was still really shut down. But when they saw each other, it was almost like they forgot everything, and they were just running around, playing
tails wagging.
for about 2 minutes, and then they kind of all looked at each other and went, uh-oh. And they just kind of went to the couch and they sat down. So it's great to see the things you don't see with a normal dog sometimes you don't really understand. His memory is incredible. We've been in other areas. If we've walked through areas, and he can remember exactly where he is, where to go, how to get back to his car in a safe place.
Yeah, sometimes that works against us though, because if we go to an event and Paul will drop us off, and I'll set up and I'll have him, and then Paul will move the car. Cherry sometimes at the end of the event won't go to the new spot that the car is, and he'll actually pancake. We've had to carry him out of a lot of places because he's thinks the car is this way when in fact it's really the other way.
So now he doesn't know what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
So to add to your surreal life, you and Cherry are now featured in a new documentary that's coming out called The Champions. I did talk about that a couple weekends ago. Tell us about that.
So
Look at each other.
Darcy Dennett, who actually filmed Dogtown and filmed the dogs way back when they first were rescued, decided to make a film about the dogs. And really some of the genesis of the story came from Cherry. About a year after we had him, we just showed up at an event, a Best Friends event in New York City called Strut Your Mutt. And it's exactly that. People come and they walk their dogs and they raise money for local animal rescues. And we just showed up, and all of a sudden the word got out that Cherry was there, and we kind of had a crowd around us, and we looked up and Darcy was there. We'd never met her before, and this woman came up and she was crying, and she introduced herself, and she said she couldn't believe that this was Cherry, because the last time she saw him, he was just so shut down, and here he is in the middle of New York City with hundreds of people and dogs around him, and he really wasn't that fazed. So she tells us that that's kind of what kind of got her wheels turning about the documentary, which follows 5 of the dogs. And basically it just shows, it kind of goes through the whole story and kind of shows how they're doing now. It's an incredibly uplifting story. There's no graphic images of dog fighting or animal abuse in it. It's just a wonderful story. The cinematography in it is amazing. There was an Australian camera person that shot it, and he's actually won many awards over in Australia for it. Jeff Beal did the music, he does House of Cards. So the combination of the music and the cinematography really just, this documentary is going to be something that everybody's going to enjoy.
I cried at the trailer.
It's a good
Probably will
cry,
cry
though.
multiple times during the. I
Yeah.
still cry. I've seen it. I've lived it, and I
Yeah, right,
still
you've
cry
seen
at
it.
parts. Yeah,
And it's
You know it's gonna happen.
I do.
yeah, it's a really fun ride. People laugh out loud in it. People do cry. People awe a lot. I mean, it's just a really fun story, and it's just it's kind of like a Rudy type story where these dogs overcome so many odds to really now they're not just parts of the community, but they're really big parts of the community. They're
Yeah.
doing a lot of
Therapy
things.
dogs
They're working with lawmakers. There's therapy dogs. They're really just taking the next step and really showing the world why dog fighting dogs really deserve a second chance.
And they're proving all the people who took those chances on them. They're proving them right
Exactly.
Yes.
in a major way, and they're giving back.
They
They're-
are.
Which it's that cycle. It's what animals are capable of.
So much was given to them, and that's really why we wanted to participate in the documentary, to really just tell the story, because without the people and the help, we wouldn't have been able to tell the story. And it's really been just a great ride.
And it's an important story to tell.
It
Each
is.
and every one of them. So much has focused on all the negative, the horrors, the bad stuff. But now it's not a closed chapter entirely. I'm going to refrain from going there. But there is the good stuff.
There's a lot of. Good
There's
stuff.
the good stuff, and these dogs are amazing, and people like you are amazing for doing all that.
There's
If it wasn't for you and people like you, these dogs would not have had the chance.
There's
And
so
that's-
many lessons we can learn from them. I mean, first and foremost, just shedding light on the plight of the pit bull. I mean, these were dogs that had every opportunity. Their owner was a multi-million-dollar athlete and provided every single opportunity for them to be fighting dogs. And as you can see today, that's the furthest from their
No.
mind of what they want
They
to do.
didn't, no.
So
No,
you
I can't
can-
even picture it.
You can breed them, you can train them, you can do a lot of things, but at heart they're dogs and they don't want to fight.
No, they really don't. They do what they're forced to do. And I certainly could never imagine this guy living that life.
I know.
He's
One of my favorite things to see in the documentary is how families have grown since we've adopted the dogs. Handsome Dan has a sister that was born after he was adopted. We have 2 children, 2 cats. They have just been through, not only were they able to overcome their past, but they've also just, adjusted to any new
Yeah.
thing that comes
They're
their
parts
way.
of families now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is the neatest thing for me to
yeah.
see.
Are you snoring with
He
your eyes
probably
open?
is. He's a snorer.
That's
He is a
great.
snorer.
I love it. So how old is Cherry now?
He is 10, he'll be 11 in June. It was very hard to determine their ages because of their teeth. They were in such bad condition. But that's what we go with. His birthday is June 2nd, and he'll be 11 this year.
That's a good date. There's a lot of people. My godson was born on June 2nd. There's a lot of good people I know born on June 2nd. So you're in good company, my friend. Anyway, you guys are hosting, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, a screening. It is at the
Academy of Music in Northampton, Massachusetts.
So I'll be there, and that's my reason for not doing the show on March 12th. So we'll probably rerun this show, I think, that night.
That's a good idea.
That's I was trying to figure out which show am I going to run. I'm going to run this show that night just because I can. If anybody wants any further information, you guys have an email that.
Yeah, you can email us at victory4cherry@hotmail.com. That's victory with a K and the number 4. You can also log on to the Academy of Music for more details. They're in Northampton, Massachusetts. It's Saturday, March 12th at 4 p.m.
And I can't wait. He also has a Facebook page.
He does.
We can't forget that.
It's Victory for Cherry.
Yep.
Again with the number 4, and we pretty much keep up to date daily stuff out there. We kind of live our lives on Facebook, but again, it's another tool to really kind of just show people you know, what it's like to have a fighting dog in your home, and really it's like having
It's
a
like
normal
having
dog.
any other dog.
Even though that's his past and that's always going to be a part of who he is, it's not who he is now.
Right.
And, you know, just like anybody else who's ever gotten a second chance in life, you know, he's actually gotten probably about 3 chances when you consider he went to Best Friends and got his second chance there,
And
and
then-
now a 3rd chance
Yeah,
by
well,
being
really
in a home.
the first chance was the USDA stepping up and really asking the question, is there something else we can do than just deem them evidence and destroy them?
Yeah.
You know, that
And
was
that's usually what
Landmark.
happens.
That is usually
It was
what
Landmark,
happens.
and now since then there's been many cases now where they bring in the ASPCA, they bring in, I know Heather from Handsome Dan's Rescue has been involved in a lot of the bigger dog busts in the country, and they're saving more dogs now. They're doing a lot more work there, and it's just, it's really been rewarding to see.
And, you know, they deserve the chance.
They do.
They do.
You know, I think, there's only 2 that out of
Yeah,
his situation
one
that-
had to be put down for medical reasons. Another one had to be put down for reasons, you know, because of their
Because of the
behavior.
dog
They
fighting
just
and-
would not have done well out in society.
And then
but
there were a handful that were deemed to live at Best Friends
Right.
for the rest of their lives for multiple reasons. You know, Lucas was named actually in the USDA report, so they just didn't want his bloodline or anything to get out.
Right.
And then there's a couple other ones that are, you know, working on their canine good citizen, and when that happens, then they'll be able to go into homes.
So it's still that they had a chance,
Right.
You know.
they live a wonderful life
They
on
live
the
a wonderful life.
sanctuary.
Exactly,
Yeah.
they do.
You know,
I have friends that go out there all the time.
it's an amazing,
Beautiful.
amazing place.
You want more loving. He's amazing. I
He
love
loves
he's
to
got
be,
that
our
little
favorite thing
underbite.
is
He
he
does.
loves to be loved. He just is a huge part of the family. I mean, the
He's a
kids
snuggler.
love to snuggle with him. You know, if there's somebody home, he's with them.
And he just, he's just, oh, look at you. You want loving. I love you. I love his little underbite.
Yes.
I have a friend who has a pit with, we always said he could rest a plate on the underbite. He had a broken jaw as a puppy, and you look like
And
him.
yeah, if, you know, Cherry will be at the screening as well, so you know you'll get a chance to meet Cherry.
And who can pass that up?
He enjoys it, and
He does.
really it's a tool that we use to help him progress with his recovery, because the more interactions he has with people, we'll have our big treat jar there, and we'll ask people to give him treats, and it keeps breaking down those barriers and helping him overcome those things.
All right, well, we are out of time. Guys, thank you so much.
you.
The way we say goodnight here, and I didn't tell you this beforehand, do it with me, is peace, love, and dogs. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.